Who you got tonight?
Lake Show, baby. Lake Show. Lake Show. Game 3.
Is Dragic back?
Nah, I think he's still feeling pretty bad. I just saw earlier. I'm pretty sure. I don't think he's playing.
Shocked if he plays any more games. I mean, tearing your fascia, it was his plantar fascia, right?
I don't know. I know
His foot?
I don't even know what. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not sure.
But whatever. If it is his foot, I don't see him playing.
Yeah. I mean, probably not. Who do you have?
I actually think it'll be a close one tonight.
Yeah.
I don't know who's gonna win though. I mean, obviously, if I was just going off statistics and who's the better team, I would think the Lakers are gonna win. But
is Bam playing?
I don't know. I'm not sure yet. But honestly, let's be real. Obviously, they're a better team with Bam on the court. Yeah. But Kelly Olynyk provided something that Bam can't do, and that's shoot the ball from 3.
Yeah, but if you need Kelly Olynyk to come out here and just start draining threes to beat the Lakers, I mean, I'm taking production.
But you have to – no, I understand what you're saying, but you have to understand that Dwight Howard not being able to protect the rim like Dwight Howard does. Yeah. I mean, that's the only not the only reason, but that's a huge reason why Jimmy Butler got to do what he got to do. Yeah, he got to play his 2-point game. And as we learned, Jimmy Butler's pretty dang good from the 2-point range.
Yeah, he is. He
didn't need to take any threes. Mm-hmm. Scored 40.
Oh, man. Can he keep it up, though? No.
Only time will tell. But all right, Asa, welcome to the Mind of a Coach podcast. This is your host, Coach Nathan Moran, and Coach Asa Duvall. Asa, you having a good week?
Yeah, man, I'm doing good. Can't complain whatsoever. I'm here. I'm alive and kicking. So I'm straight so far. How about you?
It hasn't. I'll just be honest. I like to keep it authentic, so it hadn't been the best week for me, Ace. My 2 oldest brothers lost their mom this past week, and it's been really hard because although they're my half brothers by technical terms, they're my full brothers all the way. I would never consider them anything differently. So my heart is very heavy for them right now, and just want to be with them and uplift them and pray for them in every way possible. So
certainly, man.
Not been an easy week,
especially with Sam and Shannon. So I'm sure that's not easy on them.
No,
we're sorry about that, man. Prayers up to y'all.
Yeah, absolutely. Love you guys. But Asa, you're in charge of our historical fact of the day/week. What do you have for us today? I am excited.
All right, historical fact. I might be a little lazy, but it's been going around. But Jimmy Butler was the first player to outscore, out rebound, and out assist LeBron in a finals game, I believe was the stat. So that's it's a crazy stat both ways. But Jimmy Butler deserves all the credit, all the praise. Excuse me. He had a phenomenal game. So I just thought that was a really interesting stat to share out there for those who don't already know.
I also need to share something. When I said that he was a very good role player last week, I stepped on my own toes. And I understand this. That being said, he is a super, I don't consider him to be a superstar.
No, he's not like in that. Yeah, he's not like in that top tier of superstars.
But he's like a utility player. He can fit in anywhere. He is the best. He is the elite role player that any team could have. I know that sounds crazy, but
he can go toe to toe. He can go toe to toe with those top tier superstars.
Yes, because he can do it all. Like I say, he's utility. He can defend. He can rebound. He can pass. His passing ability is very underrated.
Yeah.
And then obviously, as he showed the other night, he can score the ball too. So
yeah.
Shout out Jimmy Buckets.
Mm-hmm. What about you? You got anything?
No. What's your weekly positivity for this week? You got anything positive going on?
Okay, so let me just before I give, I'll be honest too. So you didn't think anything was weird when you called me earlier today, and I was at home at 2:30.
I was wondering what was going on.
So I tested positive for this virus. So I, can't go into work. Got to isolate myself for a little bit. But so Sunday morning, I tested Saturday morning, and Sunday morning got my results back, and I tested positive. So can't go into work. So that's why I was at home when you called me at 2:30.
So that's your weekly positivity.
That wasn't my weekly positivity, but I wanted to go ahead and get that out there because this is my
it is your weekly positive.
Oh yeah, that's my literal positive. Yeah.
Not a good joke for right now.
What? This is my Jordan flu game right now.
I guess so. This is your Jordan flu game, man.
This is my Jordan flu game. I'm pushing through it. I'm fighting through this coronavirus doing this podcast. So.
Well, I'm glad you were able to get on. How are you feeling? You feeling all right?
I'm feeling fine. My temperature's been normal. I've been 97.7, 97.8, the whole time. My nose was a little stopped up, and I probably still sound stopped up. But now I ain't gonna lie, I can't taste or smell anything.
Yeah, you need to stay inside for 14 days.
But I feel totally fine and normal. So
good, man. I would say my weekly positivity. And like I said, I've had not a great week, but the fact that I still get to go to work. I mean, if I'm going to find anything positive, it's that I get to go to work with a group of guys that are amazing and uplifting and understand my situation and are just there for me. So, and then that I get to dive into everybody. We got to mulch today. And although people can look at that as like, oh, we have to mulch. I was excited, change your attitude, change your life. So we get to mulch today, and I was just trying to bring the juice, trying to bring the energy, and it was a good time. It's always enjoyable if you look at it in the aspect of you're helping people.
Yeah.
That's just kind of the attitude I try to take. So it ended up going.
There is something to be said about, cleaning your own gym, taking care of your own campus, your own locker room, like actually being active and trying in the upkeep of it. I know we did that a couple times at Lipscomb. Casey had us clean up the gym, and I do think there's something to be said about that.
Yeah, 100%. All right. I kind of took a break right there just because I need to let my dog out.
Okay. All right. And Nathan is taking a break. For some actual positivity out there, the weather outside is beautiful. I don't know if you've had a chance to, you said you had to mulch, but for anybody else, the weather has been phenomenal outside. So that's a positive.
Could not have been a better day to mulch. Even in Chattanooga, as beautiful as it was probably in Nashville. I mean, in Chattanooga, Cleveland, Tennessee, it was beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Asa. Favorite segment of the week. We got Asa's got to get this off his chest. Asa, what do you got for us this week?
The NFL, Nate, does not want the Titans to be great. Ironically, I just said I tested positive. The Titans are 3-0, and now they got 20 people in the organization positive. Come on, NFL. This is a conspiracy. I need a Wright Goodell. I need him on the phone. I need an explanation because the Vikings had no positive tests. Please, somebody make it make sense. Apparently now everybody in Nashville's got it. They don't want the Titans to be great. They don't want to see him on the field. It's a shame. It's really a shame we got this start, and then the NFL's got to go and do this to us. So,
well, I feel like the NFL has a lot. I'm gonna have to interject here, Asa. I got to take the other side real fast.
All right.
The NFL does have a lot of resources to hopefully find out if they truly do have positive tests, because obviously you can get a positive test and not be positive. You can get a negative test and be positive. I mean, it's been all over the place, but doesn't it kind of make you think that maybe it's not as contagious if you're playing football, though? Doesn't that give you some like hope for football? Maybe if it didn't get any of the Vikings players sick, but it just happened in the Titans locker room, that almost is like, just because the Titans are in close confines, like maybe just playing games against each other isn't as like, I don't know, as bad. I don't know.
We can get, I know. I'm telling you, man, it's a conspiracy. They don't want the Titans to be great. They really don't. They had to go and give them all the coronavirus. It's a shame.
I hope the NFL didn't give it to them. That'd be something ridiculous. But on the other news, Houston is 0-4 now. So.
Oh yeah. Good riddance, Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, tough news for him. But all right, yeah. Hey, not a different take, but hey, this is your segment, so I respect it.
Thank you.
All right, brother. Hey, we're gonna get into Nate's keys for the day, and we typically stand at 3 keys. I'm going to push it. I'm going to go 4.
Mm-hmm.
Just because this week we are talking about a coach's perspective now.
All right. Give us the keys,
drum roll. We've been going to the coaches. We've hit the players. We had the parents last week, and now we got the coaches.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to dive right in. All right. The number one key I have for coaches when they're dealing with playing time, because this is the series we're talking about, is before everything, communicate expectations that you have for the team, for the individuals, to your staff, and to the rest of your players. So, like, for example, for a team, we do not tolerate walking from drill to drill. We always help someone when they fall. We're running over there. We're helping them up.
Mm-hmm.
For the individual, we do not whine, or you do not whine. You do not complain. You do not make excuses. You do everything the right way. You do what I tell you to do, and you do it when I tell you to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that leads me into my second one as a coach when dealing with playing time, whether you're playing or not, or having players that play or do not. You're going to have to assess. You're going to have to assess your players. You're going to have to assess, reassess, assess, reassess, assess, reassess. And that's the constant limbo you're going to be in, because one person might not be playing well at the beginning of the season, and all of a sudden they can start playing well and really start finding value and helping your team during the middle of the season, and it could go away at the end. I mean, it's crazy. So I think not only am I talking to coaches on this one, but to players as well, because players, you have to understand that every single day matters.
Absolutely.
Every single one.
Absolutely.
Every single one. You show up to practice one day and have a bad practice because you're like, oh, I'm not going to play, whatever. I'm not helping the team. Well, you're probably right in your own grave right there. You're right in your own tombstone, because you say that and you're probably going to not play.
Yeah.
So
your attitude's already telling you your outcome.
Yeah. Say that again.
Your attitude is already determining your outcome.
Say it one more time.
Your attitude is predetermining your outcome. I just said it 3 different ways, but
it was all the same. And I think players and coaches really need that.
Yeah.
I mean, we can tell players, and then it like players look at us as well as coaches. And if our attitude is the right way every single day, and we're bringing it, and we're consistent, then they can't just be like, oh, well, he's not doing it. They're like, oh, okay, this is the expectations. This is what we're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So players and what they will need to be able to do within the confines of the team, like, you have to assess that. You have to assess what this player is able to do in the confines of the team, not just like their individual skill level. How can you help this player? Because obviously we're always trying to help the player. But as a coach, we are in charge of a team, or we're a part of the team just as much as a player is. So like, we have to assess these players in order to help the teams. At the beginning of the year is like when I think it will be like the most you need to like have this assessment. But that's usually from players in the past, like players that are coming back. You're like already have an assessment of them.
Yeah.
But to be honest, you're going to be reassessing them all throughout the season.
Absolutely.
You're going to be assessing them, and you're like through preseason, beginning of practice. I mean, assessment will never stop. So I think assessment is very key when talking about playing time. And when you're assessing, the biggest question, this is like 2A, the biggest question you're going to have to answer is, who can we trust? 4 words. Who can we trust? And players, you could be less skilled, but more trusted by your coach. And there's a very high potential of you getting the nod from the coach.
Absolutely.
I experienced that.
Absolutely. That coach has to be able to trust you if you want to be on that floor, really, no matter how talented you are. And sometimes you're right. It may go to the person who's a little less talented, but very trustworthy, and has been doing exactly what the coach says day in and day out.
Yeah. And I'm going to try to humble brag on myself real quick. So maybe it's just a brag. Maybe it's not so humble, but I was not the best player. I've said it once in this podcast, twice, 3 times. I'll say it a million times. I was not the best player. I was not the most skilled, but my coach trusted me because I tried to do the right thing. I tried to work hard. I tried to do what he said every single time he said it.
He
said something. Yeah. And so I think that's exactly what you just said. Listening. That's a huge part of trusting. You have to be able to listen, and then you have to be able to do.
Certainly.
So coaches, like, if you can find a way and honestly, not even find a way. You just need to let your players know, like, listening is a huge part of our program.
Right.
And if you listen, you're going to have listen and then transfer that and allow it to incorporate into your game.
Yeah.
You're going to have a great opportunity to play during this program.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but it also works vice versa. You could be the most skilled, but a coach might not be able to trust you, and they might not play you.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And you're going to be sitting there. Yeah. And you're going to be sitting there like, I'm the best player on this team. Like, I don't understand. Well, here's the deal.
Have you bought in?
Have you bought in? If I'm playing a game, Asa, and I have a less talented person on the team, but I need to execute this play with 3 seconds left in order to win the game.
Yep.
I can't play you if you can't run the play correctly. If you can't understand the play and you can't run the play correctly. Even in a 3-second scenario, are you going to take bad shots? Are you not going to take high quality shots? Because this is a team sport. I don't care if you can go out and get 40. I need the team to score more points than the other team.
Yeah.
So I need you to take high quality shots because we have great players all around you.
Yeah. We got to get the best shot for the team.
Exactly. Can you make an extra pass for a better shooter? Like, are you unselfish enough to make a better pass or a pass for a better shooter?
Yeah.
And do you fall asleep on defense? Like, I mean, these are just examples. Like, can the coach trust you? And I think it's very important for coaches to lay that out to players. Like, listen, I think you're very talented. I think you are very skilled, but I need to trust you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is for every player. This could be for the least skilled player and the highest skilled player. Like, you're going to have a better opportunity if a coach, like, I'm talking to coaches right now, you're going to have if you can tell your players, if I can trust you, you have a better opportunity to play in our system. That's not just going to help these players, and it's not just going to help me as a coach. It's going to help our team be successful. Not just on the court, it's going to help everything else. Yeah.
Kind of. Well, back to what I was saying last week. Giving your coach every reason to trust you and play you and have you out on the floor, and 90% of that is listening, right? I mean, 90% of getting your coach to trust you is listening and doing what he tells you to do. Whether or not you always agree with it, that doesn't really matter. If you want to be on the floor, your coach has to trust you.
100%. And so trusting that, I'm going to lead that into the third key, which is role clarity. Coaches, we have to be able to define roles for players after we've assessed and reassessed and assessed wherever we're at when the season starts coming along, or even a month before the season, or from players coming in, the 3-year players that you have in your senior year, 2-year, 1 year, whatever coming in, you need to define their roles. I think the Lipscomb staff did a great job at defining my role.
Yeah.
I truly believe that. And once you have assessed your players and know that what they can or can't do, like I just said, communicate with them. Communicate with your players. And I know how hard it is as a coach because you were in charge of so many different responsibilities. It's easy to get lost without communicating.
Yeah.
And I could have just titled these keys, communicate.
Yeah.
Because I mean, as a player, coach, parent, we need communication.
Communication is at the root of everything. It's the very foundation of all that, of trust, of a good team, all that.
Yeah. And part of communicating and part of role clarity is, we talked about it with players, we talked about it with parents. We are going to have, as coach, tough conversations. It never gets easier the older you get or the wiser you become. You're going to have tough conversations in order for everyone to be on the same page. Yeah. You're going to have to. So like, that's a flash. Like that's one of the biggest parts of this whole keys. Tough conversation from players to parents to coaches. You're going to have to leave your ego behind, and I don't want to hurt this person. You're going to have to be honest with them because honesty will stand higher than anything else.
Yeah, no doubt.
So I also think when you have this tough conversations, it's okay to let these players that aren't playing as much know that, okay, listen, you're not playing as much right now.
Yeah.
But we're on role clarity. You have to be able to do this. I need you to do this if you want to be on the court, in order for our team to be the most successful.
Yeah, you still have a role. Notice there's still a role. It might not be the one that you completely desire, but there is still a role that has to get done.
120%.
A role that has to be filled.
Yes, yes. And I think too often, and I'm going to talk to players for a brief second, although we're talking to coaches, is as players, you can get into the mindset of, oh, my role is not as big as I want, or,
Yep.
oh, it's not as meaningful. Every single role on a basketball team is meaningful. You don't just win with 5 guys. You
Yeah.
win with a team. Like, I mean, we didn't go to the NCAA tournament just because we had 5 guys, 1 guy, 2 guys, 3 guys. We won because of every single person on the coaching staff.
Yep.
Every single person on the end of the bench, Will,
Yep.
like trainer, athletic trainer, everything else, Huddy. Like we didn't go there because of just 5 people. Every person in the organization, Philip Hutchison, our AD, everyone made that happen.
Absolutely.
So I think you have to just be able to buy in and accept your role and fulfill it and live in it and enjoy that role.
Make the most of it.
Yes. And so I think this might be the most important for coaches. And I might be stepping on toes. I don't know, but I'm just going to try to put this out there is number 4, the 4th key, the fourth key, create a purpose for guys not playing as much as you are creating a purpose for the guys that are playing.
That's a tough one.
And that could look a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
But part of it's having tough conversations, but telling them how important they are, although they are not playing, because it's the truth. It's not a lie. It's the truth.
And that's the extra step you got to go to keep everybody on board as a coach, because those are the ones that you're going to need down the road, as we've alluded to before. But I mean, you got to keep everybody, no matter how high up or how low on the totem pole they are, you got to keep everybody on board.
I agree. So like, I mean, as naturally as you would as a coach, like we think when we're coming to like the point where we have an established team and et cetera, we spend more times, just naturally, we spend more times on the guys that are playing the most.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that's like wrong, because like at the end of the day, a coach loses his job if those guys are not performing.
Yep.
So like 100%, I'm so in on that. I understand. However, not saying it's wrong. I just personally think it can be improved.
Yep.
I think it can be improved, and I think you're going to see that in the culture you build.
It's kind of something that you have to work on too, that coaches need to work on. It's not just going to happen. You have to make an effort to do that and work on it. It's not something that it's definitely not going to come second nature to most people. So you have to practice it and work on it like you would anything else.
Yeah. And once again, we're going off 3 and having tough conversations with the role clarity. Once you have that role clarity, once you have that tough conversation, in that tough conversation, what if a coach put this to you, Asa, when you were not playing as much? I need you to be the O-line for our basketball team. The O-line, the offensive line, the mean and gritty, the dirty and gritty. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I need you to be the best player on scout team.
Yep.
I need you to be the most positive person in our locker room, the loudest and most vocal leader. I need you, and this is just an off the wall one, but it's just as important as anything else. I might need you to spend some extra time with our best player on his homework, because if he doesn't play, then we don't win. Yeah. And so like when I say, I mean, seriously, when I'm talking about the O-line, you do not win games without the O-line. I mean, I'm talking about Tennessee football right now. They got a mean O-line up there. I mean, they're pushing people around right now.
Y'all do have a good O-line up there.
And doesn't that make everybody look better?
Yeah. Yeah. And everything matters. Everything matters.
And like when you're talking about Alabama or great football teams, they have a great O-line that protects their quarterback, running back, and allows wide receivers to get in the end zone and dance.
Yeah.
You need those players that are not playing as much to be your O-line.
That's great. I totally agree with that.
Like, and then being able to phrase it is like, we need you to do this. We need you to be the O-line. We do not win a championship without you. How does when you tell 18, 19, 16, 15, I don't even care how old a kid, when you tell them that, they might shrug their shoulders a little bit like, okay, you guys need me still.
Yeah.
You guys might need me. And I'm not saying it's the perfect formula, but it's worth a try.
Certainly.
But anyway, Ace, those are my 4 keys for today. We're going to 3 keys, but I added 1 for today.
That's all right. They're your keys, man. They're your keys. You got the car. They're your keys.
It's a push to start. So you know how it is. But Asa, do you have an example of a coach that you either read about, saw on TV, heard about, were a part of, etc., that you felt did not communicate or heard they did not communicate with a player and it ended up hurting the team in return?
Um, I'll say this. I know, like, a lot of time, okay, back to your expectations
Mm-hmm.
point. So
Yeah.
making those clear in the first place. I had a conversation with, he wasn't part of the basketball team in high school, but he was connected to the basketball team. And I really didn't know what a good shot was. Wasn't sure what I could and couldn't do. And he looked at me and he was like, well, the only way to really find out what a good shot is to take it in practice. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at that point, there hadn't been expectations completely laid out, at least in a way that was clear to me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tough. And then, you get into these situations where a coach is taking you out for something that you thought you were supposed to do. And so I know that happened to me a couple of times. I'll get confused, every time somebody goes to the bench, you kind of looking over your shoulder like, well, what did I do? And I think that just goes to show you how important it is to lay out the expectations early on, so you don't get in these ruts or in these situations where there's a disconnect between both sides. So no, not a specific story, but it is important for coaches, like you said, to lay out the expectations beforehand, so there's no confusion going forward.
I 100% agree with you. I mean, I'll put the 20 on the end. I 120% agree with you. I mean, I guess that's my percentage layout, but man, I don't either. I don't have a personal story, but I have heard of some times where, and it all goes back to communication,
Mm-hmm.
where these players, like for instance, I heard this one friend tell me, yeah, I believe that I'm starting. Like, that's just like how practice has been going. Like, I'm the best
Yeah.
player. Like, I'm scoring, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden they're coming off the bench. And all of a sudden it's turned into where they're talking negatively about their
Yeah.
coaching staff
Yeah. Yeah.
and the rest of the team, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
And although that is not right by the player, I think we
Yeah.
can agree with that. Like, you should be able to accept it with humility. But these are still young age adults, teenagers that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Teenager for this instance. And their coach should have just had that conversation, that tough conversation about, listen, I think you're a very good player, but I need you to come off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
You're not, I think you can provide more of a scoring spark off the bench than you would if you were in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
And if you're like a really good scorer, you might think, and no one's told you, you might think, okay, well, I'm going to be like, I'm a top 2 scorer on the team. Like, I'm going to come in and I'm going to shoot. I'm going to shoot. I'm going to shoot. He was a shooter.
Yeah.
And I'm going to shoot. I'm going to shoot. I'm going to shoot. Well, the coach is thinking, I can get that spark off the bench.
Yeah.
The player is thinking, I'm like the best scorer, blah, blah, blah. So like, just having that talk with the player could have eased that conversation, eased that decision. I mean, it wouldn't have been a problem.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I
that would
know.
be my negative story.
I know when I was younger, like when I was much younger, I had a coach
Mm-hmm.
who would literally, he would tell me to do something and I would do it and I'd still get taken out from him. And that happened probably a couple times in my basketball career. And when that happened, I was like done. Like, I was lost. I'm looking, you looking around, you don't know
Yeah.
what's up or what's down. You don't know what to do. And so I think that kind of hurt the team more, because then I wasn't able to be as good as I possibly could for the team, because my role was just unclear. Everything I did was wrong in my mind. Right.
Yeah.
So that hurts the team. That's just as detrimental to the team as anything else.
Completely agree. Asa, do you have an example of a time you heard about, et cetera? Same question, but just
Mhm.
in a positive light.
Yeah. When I was at Hargrave, Coach Hamilton is actually at Eastern Kentucky now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he, I started the season off. I was starting as the shooting guard, and there was somebody that was hurt, and he was a good player, and I knew he was going to come back, 5, 6, 7 games in the season, and so he finally he rehabbed his injury, he got back on the court, and before his first game back, Coach Hamilton pulled me over and he was like, "Hey, I'm not going to start you tonight. I think you're great at coming off the bench. I think you bring some energy, and you honestly you're going to handle it." You're going to handle that coming off the bench better than most other people would. So I'm going to let you come off the bench. And I said, cool. I'm fine with that. Thanks
Yeah.
for letting me know. But he communicated that with me. So it didn't, I wasn't blindsided by it. And I would have handled it the same regardless, but at least he was willing to sit there and tell me what the situation was. And I took it. I took it well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, I'm I have a very similar story. I'm going to give you two examples actually, if
Yeah,
that's okay with you.
of course.
I have a very similar story in my freshman year of college when I was starting. Um, Martin Smith had come back and he was not starting. And Coach Alexander, first game of conference, comes up to me and goes, "Hey, we're going to go with Martin in our starting lineup. We think he gives us a better chance with the first five, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera." I was like, I agree.
Yeah, he should. Yeah, yeah.
Like Martin was our
I'm
best
not. You're
player,
not lying
honestly.
because we've had that conversation like 3 or 4 times. You probably came back to the room and said that.
Yeah. I
Like,
mean,
yeah, Casey, start Martin over.
I was like, you should start Martin over me. I was like, you absolutely should. And
Yeah.
but like just the fact that he would come up to me and tell me, and he even tried to like phrase it in a nice way, which is not what people would normally think is a Coach Alexander way.
True.
But
True.
but he did. And it was
Yeah.
like, I'm just thankful that you had that conversation instead of finding out 2 minutes before the game started.
Yeah.
You know what I
Certainly.
mean?
Yep.
And then there was another example about Coach Alexander. It wasn't so obvious to me at the time,
Mm-hmm.
but my sophomore year, I had been starting every game, and then Garrison came on the scene and started starting, which he should have,
Mm-hmm.
100%. I did not think anything wrong of it, and I was like, good decision.
Yeah.
But I got in the game, and we were playing against Stetson. I hit 3 straight threes within like 2 minutes, and I had 1 turnover, and he yanked me immediately.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you want from me? What do
Right.
you want from me?
Right.
And he goes, Nate, you just have to understand you cannot make that pass to a big man that is run down the court that can't handle that pass.
Right.
And he
Right.
said, now go back in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was like, and it was so simple, but like I was like, what did I do? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But he was like, go back in. Now go back in.
Yeah,
like,
and the coach isn't always like gonna berate you or get on to you, lash out at you. Like sometimes it's something like that, like which probably did wonders for you, right? Like okay,
yeah, like, and I'm not gonna act like I fixed it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm not gonna act like I fixed it immediately. And it even gets better when he had the conversation with me in the summer of like, listen, you remember I've told this story, the 2-point shots. I've told it a million times. Don't take as many twos. Take care of the ball and shoot threes.
Yep.
And they just gave me that role clarity, and I was able to succeed in that role.
Yeah.
Because he had that conversation. So like that was probably in his head at the time. Like, I wish you would just do this.
Mm-hmm.
But like, we're at the very end of the season. I need you to keep being who you are without trying to get in your head too much. And like, there's a lot of different things you have to balance as a coach.
Yep.
And I think the delivery and the timing of it was exactly what he could have done, because who knows? Like, I mean, he doesn't know me. Like, he's not inside my head.
Yep.
Like, he doesn't know if I'm going to fall apart, if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to start like being bad towards the team, et cetera.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I'm not going to do that, but you just don't know these things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think he handled that situation perfectly.
Yeah, that needs to happen more, and I think it does. I think it does happen. I mean, I hear a lot of stories like that where a coach will pull you over to a side and say something that you really didn't expect them to say because you expected it to be more negative. Yeah, that stuff like that is key, and I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure that helped you out a ton and gave you some confidence going forward.
Yeah. All right, Asa, I have to ask one more question before we get into our last segment, and that is, what is the best moment that you have ever had with a coach? And I know it's not necessarily about playing time.
Mm-hmm.
It can be. And if you want to go along that, that's awesome. But best moment that you've ever experienced with a coach. And it could be a dinner. It could be just like talking in his office. It could be something he said to you. What's the best moment you got?
Oh man, you are putting me on the spot.
I'm putting you on the spot. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm trying to decide if I want to go like literal on the basketball court or off of it, or if just like some off court story. Oh my goodness. I mean, you had Casey who loved to scare people behind walls every single second, every single chance he got. So that was
the whole coaching staff.
Oh my gosh, he were jumping out from walls. Oh my gosh, any chance he got to scare somebody, he was doing it. Golly, man, the first one of my favorite stories with a coach. Casey did come up to me. Casey came up to me after we made the tournament at Florida Gulf Coast, and obviously I wasn't playing. I was on my crutches, and he came up to me and he kind of came behind me and like put his arm around me, and like he just had this like look on his face. Obviously he'd never made it as a head coach before.
Yeah.
But he had like the most excited, like childlike look on his face when he came and like gave me a hug. And I mean, Casey had recruited me since I was like my, junior year, early on. I've known Casey for a while. And it was almost like I could see all the years that I had known him just come to fruition at that point, right? Like it was so much that went into that moment, that hug and that look that he gave me, even though I didn't play, didn't contribute a minute on the court to it. It was just cool, man. Just that little hug and that embrace and that look that he had after we made it to the NCAA tournament for the first time. So I mean that's one that came off. It just came to the head real quick, but it was cool
100%
moment.
Yeah. That I was thinking about the moment, like just like seeing how excited Casey was.
He was so excited.
Because like, had we ever seen I had seen it a couple times when we had like big wins.
Yep.
When we beat Missouri, like I remember him just like being ecstatic. Like this is the first time we beat an SEC team. Blah blah blah. Like I saw it my 5th year after we had went to the NCAA tournament. Like we beat TCU and we beat NC State. Like I remember all those.
Yeah.
But, that was the first like really big moment where like he just like was celebrating with all of us.
Yeah, it was cool, man. It was cool. One time in high school, after we played Alex Poitras when he was at Clarksville Northeast or whatever, they were undefeated and he was averaging like 30. And we Jack Montague had a good game. We ended up winning the game. Alex Poitras only had like 9 points, and we get back in the locker room and Coach King, he looks at Jack, and Alex Poitras had committed to Kentucky by this point. And so Coach King said, man, if he's going to Kentucky, and he looks at Jack, points at Jack, he said, man, you need to go to the Lakers, man. And it was like the most uncharacteristic like praise that Coach King would give somebody, because he never did anything like that. But he did it. Yeah. It was just like, damn, that was kind of cool. Like it was super cool.
That's awesome. And my probably my biggest moment that I've ever experienced, and it's funny how these little things last with you forever, is after high school basketball games, like I would either go eat with my team. We'd go to Waffle House.
Yeah.
Or Coach McNatt and Sam and I would go to Wendy's.
Yeah.
And Wendy's was our place. And we just go eat and talk about the game. And
–
I'll just never forget like how much that meant to me, just like having conversations with him and him even being willing to do that.
Yeah.
Like just go eat and talk with us. And it didn't even have to be about the game. It would be about something else. But like, it just like I think those moments mean the world to me, because it's like the same as like Casey, like scaring us.
Yeah.
And like, I like have moments with like Roger and him just like embracing me in some of like my toughest times. And I have some of the conversations that Coach Draven had with me, and like spiritually, and how like he uplifted me, and Coach R, like, I mean, I could go on and on, but like these highlights of these coaches, like, I mean, you have the opportunity to make an impact on these kids' lives.
Yeah.
And just, and it can be a day that you are feeling bad and you say something to a kid, you put your arm around a kid.
Yep.
And it can change their life.
Absolutely, it can.
So that was, I know I kind of threw that question on you, but
that's good. I liked it. That was good.
I wanted to hear it. All right, what is your last minute of advice?
Last minute of advice. Do what you're supposed. We got this from Casey. Do what you're supposed to do. Do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it. Do what you're supposed to do when you are supposed to do it. You will eliminate 90% of stress from your life in college if you just do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it.
100%. My last minute of advice is treat every second of every minute of every hour of every day like it's your last, because tomorrow is not promised. And I guess that's just hitting home to me this past week, because and you can never get that time back.
Yep.
No matter what you do, you can never get that time back. So you have 8,600 seconds in a day, or 86,000, I think. 86,000 seconds. Don't waste a single one.
Yeah. So, You're right. Prayers to you and the family again, man. Still prayers to y'all.
I appreciate it. I know my brothers really appreciate it as well. But anyway, Ace, man, what a great series we had these past 3 weeks.
That was fun, dude. That was tough. That was. I mean, it was tough, but I'm glad we did that.
It was challenging, but it was like, and it was a lot of tough conversation.
Yeah.
But I felt like it needed to be said, and I feel like people needed to hear it, and
Yeah.
I needed to talk about it because I wanted to learn from you just as much as you wanted to hear from me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Who said I wanted to hear from you?
what'd you say?
No, I'm kidding. I said, who said I wanted to hear from you?
Nobody actually wants to hear from me. That's the problem. So
Hey,
you had to hear from me anyway.
we forgot. Speaking of hearing me, we forgot to tell the listeners that we finally, after 4 episodes, figured out my microphone situation. So, so for people out there that want to hear more of me, you're in luck. For the ones that don't, you are not in luck because I got this microphone cracking, baby.
Yep, you just had to turn it around.
It wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be right if something that small, didn't go wrong at first.
Absolutely.
Oh man, we had a good laugh at that one at the last episode.
Oh my goodness. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the Mind of a Coach podcast. Once again, you can follow along with us on Twitter you can follow Asa along on Twitter at the Ace of Spades with a Z on the end. I'll never forget that again. And that rhymed, by the way. And you can follow me along as well on my Twitter at Nate5_Moran. You can follow both of us and our podcast as well along at Twitter at Mind of a Coach 1. And you can follow us along on Instagram at Mind of a Coach. And we also now have a Facebook page at Mind of a Coach. Also, please remember to like and subscribe this if you're enjoying it. And please, please, please leave comments. We want to be able to improve for you guys. And we want to be able to ask questions and answer questions that you guys might have for us as well. So thank you guys for tuning in again. Asa, you got anything?
Yeah, man, y'all know the deal. If you love it, tell your family and friends. If you hate it, tell everybody. And if this virus takes me in a couple weeks, Nate, it's been a great run, man. We had a blast. It's been a great run. So
it's not going to take you, Ace. We're praying against that. But anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week.